Hello everyone, welcome to Sriram's IAS. Myself Shri Shankar Shiva Ignatius. So we are meeting for the third session of NCERT as we have already started this chapter yesterday. So we were in between, right? So we'll first complete this chapter, then we'll move to the next two chapters of class 11. So this is the 15th chapter. If you are having the book, you can take the 15th chapter. So already we have discussed all these things. We were saying that you have to see the definition for the terms, especially like ecology, ecosystem, habitat. Okay, so this way terms has to be read. And even an ecological adaptation was described here. And then we started the types of ecosystems. In that, for structure, I gave a formula that the structure of ecosystem consists of both biotic as well as abiotic factors. Okay, so in the abiotic, we usually mention rainfall, temperature, sunlight, humidity, soil, all these. Along with this is important. So you can also write it as separate component, inorganic substances. Okay, like the carbon dioxide, water, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, etc. Right? And then we are going for the biotic factors. So biotic factors we know. So we stopped here. We said like if you are considering the biotic factors, we are categorizing them like some are called as producers, some are consumers. Okay, so generally we take three things into consideration: producers plus consumers plus decomposers. This way only we used to classify. Okay, so if you see, animals cannot be a producer at all. Animals cannot be producers. Only plants can be producers. Plants and certain bacteria. Only few bacteria. Example, the blue-green algae. Okay, called cyanobacteria. Previously, it was considered as an algae, but it's also a bacteria. Even one time in the UPSC, they asked a question: which of the below are considered as producers? Okay, so you have to be very careful. Both in the terrestrial ecosystem as well as in the marine ecosystems, you have to know who are those organisms which can be a producer and all. And then consumers. So since we are in 11th standard, we will be going to biology portion of 12th. There you will be seeing this particular organisms which can be brought under producers. Consumers are a lot. There are a lot of people who are called as consumers. They know how to consume only. So they can be classified. See this diagram itself, it is called primary consumers, secondary and tertiary. In the primary consumers, few are called herbivores, what? And others are called as carnivores. Herbivores will never eat flesh. They eat only plant products. So either leaves or shoots, anything, even like nectars from plants. Okay, so from flowers and even the flower. Some animals used to eat flowers. So this way they are called herbivores. But carnivores will eat only flesh. In between these two are called as omnivores. There is another one section called as omnivores who used to eat both the plants as well as the animals. So this way you have to be very much careful with the terms. You have to know what it is about. Okay, and when you're studying NCERTs, you try to make small notes nearby wherever space is there. Just make and in the formula pattern, you just try to write a synopsis about that particular page. Okay, whatever necessary information is in that page, make a synopsis of it in the form of or in the pattern of a formula. This is how I used to tell my students. That's why I'm sharing here. Same way, you can see the decomposers are very important. Like how producer is important, decomposers is also important. Similarly, consumers are also important. We cannot simply say that only producers are very important here in the ecosystem. Like not like that. Everyone have their role to play. So decomposers like fungi. Here comes a confusion. So some are called as the decomposers generally we call as saprotrophs. Saprotrophs. This is the name we give them. Okay. Even there is another term called as detritivores. Detritivores, scavengers. Although we call all of them as decomposers only, those which are called as true decomposers are bacteria, fungi, and bacteria. You put decomposers equal to like a formula you write and keep bacteria, fungi plus protists. Few types of protists. Protists is another kingdom. I used to say the students that you have to read biology. In the biology, there are kingdom, no? 5 kingdoms are there. In that one kingdom is bacteria, Munira, we call that as. Another is fungi, another is Protista, that is this one, Protist, and then comes plant, and then comes animal. Okay, so in that, some bacteria are decomposers, can act as decomposer, fungi can act as a decomposer, and few protists can act as decomposer. Okay, but animals and plants cannot act as decomposers. They can be either detritivores or they can be scavengers. Okay, they cannot be a decomposer. Keep that in mind. So decomposers means why we are saying that these three only can be a decomposer. This way only you have to connect and learn. Questions are coming in that pattern only. If you go to the old question paper, lot of questions are targeted from this area. Even last year they were asking which of the below are producers. Okay, then decomposers, scavengers are, this way the questions are the saprotrophs. So they will give some options for you how to pick up and write that. Then you can put a tabular column, collect their names and keep it aside. They're not going to ask about consumers and all. So you can make a tabular column for producers and for the decomposers, scavengers, retritivores. Whenever you see a name, pick it up, put it there as a collection. You'll do collection of shoe collection, watch collection. That way you have to collect the names. So where we stopped. Okay, see, this way I can say the main difference is that the decomposers, so-called saprotrophs, what they are going to do, they will do saprophytic kind of digestion. That means they will not ingest, they will not take the food inside. They will secrete an enzyme. That enzyme will digest the dead organism and they will only absorb that nutrients. That kind of digestion thing they follow. Okay, so this is the difference between them and the detritivores and the scavengers. Where detritivores will take up, even many students used to ask this difference. Detritivores both used to eat the dead organisms and caprophagy. Caprophagy means from the fecal matter. They will also eat the fecal matter and from that they will derive nutrients. But what is the difference between these two? That this person will eat in a smaller amount. Detritivores, no, they will take in a smaller amount. Even a millipede can be a detritivore. Crab can be a detritivore. But scavengers, they will take in the enormous amount. Like you take a vulture, they will eat a lot. So the consumption amount is higher than a detritivore. So this is the major difference. And this the decomposer is totally different from these two people. Okay, they have extracellular digestion. You have to keep in mind like that. So generally we give a name as, we call all of them as decomposer only. That's why they have here written as decomposers, and they are responsible for the dead remains which is there. And now we can proceed further. As you can see, this is explained. The food chain is explained here. Now we are coming to food chain. How major interaction takes place in the ecosystem. So, last, I hope maybe like 3 years before or 4 years before, there was a question. 4 years before, 5 years before, there was a question. They gave which of the following statements related to food chain is correct. They gave 3 statements below. Then they asked to pick up the right statement. They gave options for 1 and 2 only, 1, 3, like that they have given. So even that was asked as a question. So be careful. See, in this food chain, they have described how the food chain is taking place. So this and all we need not explain here. You can just read it. The producer is taken by a consumer. Producer, they are autotrophs. They prepare their own food. They take sunlight. They through photosynthesis, they prepare their food. Then they are taken by the primary consumers, like herbivores and omnivores also. Okay. Then after that, these primary consumers are taken by secondary consumers, and then secondary consumers are taken by tertiary consumers. That is top carnivores. Top carnivores we call them. Then when they die, all of them are taken by the decomposers, and decomposers is in each level. Like this, they have described here. No need to read. I have said what it is there. See this. The sequence of eating and being eaten and the resultant transfer of energy from one level to another is known as food chain. So this is the definition of food chain. This was also given as a statement there in the question paper. So in food chain is nothing but a sequence of eating and being eaten by others. Okay, and through this only the energy is transferring from one organism to another. Right? So that is called food chain. And this, see this. The transfer of energy that occurs during the process of food chain from one level to another is known as flow of energy. This too you have to read it. Okay, so these are important. However, food chains are not isolated from one another? For example, we cannot separate, no, we cannot segregate. For example, a mouse feeding on a grain. Okay, now a mouse is there, it has come, there are rice is lying, so mouse is eating a rice. Now if you see, either cat can eat a mouse, same as snake can also eat a mouse. Okay, so we cannot segregate these two. So there is interconnection and they're interlinked and intertwined. So that we call as food web. So that was given here. A mouse feeding on grain can be eaten by different secondary consumers. My mouse is a primary consumer. So if you go here, you can see this. See this? So this is, we can put grain here. Now the primary consumer, that is a herbivore. Mouse is a primary consumer, but secondary consumers can be lot of people. How we can say there are a lot of people? As you can see, the mouse can be either taken by, I'll write in different color. Okay. So they can be taken by snake. Snake is a secondary consumer now. They can be taken by cat. Cat is a secondary consumer. Okay, so this way, lot of people can eat a mouse. Okay, so that's why they are saying that mouse. As you can see, the secondary consumers are a lot of secondary consumers can be there. Same way, the tertiary consumers can also be a lot of tertiary consumers can be connected there. So that's how, in such situation, each of the carnivores may consume more than one type of prey. As a result, the food chain get interlocked with one another, and this interconnecting network of species is known as food web. So this is also important. Mark this, food web. You have to learn these definitions. Then come to the next part. So when we are taking a food chain is of two types. Okay, so what are those? Grazing food chain and the detritus food chain. If possible, you can make a table for grazing food chain in one side and detritus food chain in one side. There are major two differences for both. Try to write it. Okay, so we can see what is given here. You can see that grazing food chain and detritus food chain. These are two types of food chain. Generally, we classify the food chain into two only. But again, they are going for grazing terrestrial food chain, grazing detritus food chain. And yes, Mukesh Nafria, source. See, I have already written a book. Okay, so I am an author. I have already written an environment book also. Generally, source means we have to rely on NCERT. Okay, so NCERT is the major source for any subject you take. NCERT is the major source. Apart from that, there are also certain other materials for environment called as National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS materials also there. Okay, so apart from that, we are taking from various international research papers. We are going inside. As an author, I used to do that. I will check everything. If there is something very interesting and very different, and then it will be added in the book. So in this way only I am doing the classes also. Okay, even the book I cannot because there is some restrictions. But in the classes, I used to include all these things as a source. Some magazines from where the questions are usually appearing in your UPSC exams. And apart from that, the basic concepts from the NCERTs and NIOS. Along with that, we are also taking some research papers into consideration. From that also questions are coming. Okay. And the government source, Press Information Bureau. Right. Now we will further proceed. So this way you have to make a clear table. And in this also they have given, as you can see, the grazing food chain. The first level starts with plants as producers and ends with the carnivores as consumers. Okay, so this way, in the intermediate level will be herbivores. This is a grazing food chain. But if take a detritus food chain, the food chain starts with the detritus matter. What is detritus matter? The dead matter. Either it can be dead leaf or either it can be a dead animal. That's how the detritus food chain starts, and then decomposer starts digesting it. Okay, so here, and another one important difference, if you want, you can note the grazing food chain. The main source is incoming solar radiation, but detritus food chain, the main source is not incoming solar radiation. The main source is detritus matter only. Okay, so this way we are differentiating these two things. Then come to the types of biomes. As we have already said in the previous session, we discussed what is meant by biome. Now, in this, we are going to see what are the major biomes of the world. See, there are 5 major biomes like forest, okay, desert, grassland. In this, if you are seeing, UPSC is always focusing on forest, sometimes on desert. Okay, the conservation, desertification, these things they are focusing. Grasslands, very rarely you get the question, right? So far, no questions has come, and so very rarely you get a question. Yes. what you want to tell? Did class live on evening? What is that live on evening? I don't understand the question. Yeah, now only it is going live. Okay, so it started around 7. No, every day 7. Every day 7 p.m. we have. Maybe like another two more days we have. Right, and in the last session we will be having quiz also. So for what we have done, the quiz based on that also will be in the last session. Okay. Yes, chalo students, like we will see this, please put a tick, put important sign here, important mark sign like this. Okay. If you have a habit of marking like this, do it. Why? Because this is very important. Although there are limited information, in my book I have written the entire categorization like this in the table format. But although there is a limited information, it's always useful. You can see this in the forest biome, how they have classified. They have classified tropical forest, okay, temperate and boreal forest. Tropical, they have again divided into equatorial and deciduous. Okay, so they have given in what region it is lying. Consider this north south in this, okay, in this latitude ranges it is lying, and then even this and all is not required for us. This is not required. This you have to take. Okay, then come to the temperature conditions. Temperature conditions they have given at what temperature they will be, rainfall will be, what way it is distributed. So this and all is mentioned. Come to this particular area, this is very important, the soil characters of a forest. So that is important. Even last year there was a question related to the humus content of the tropical rainforest. They were saying that the humus, that is the dead matter, is large, enormous comparative to the other forest. Then why they have mentioned that is poor in nutrients, the soil is poor in nutrients? There is a lot of confusions in this. Generally the nutrients will not stay in the soil. That's the reason. Otherwise it is rich in nutrients only because there is a lot of dead matter which is lying on the soil. And the soil is not so thick as you compare to the deciduous forest. The soil is very thick, and whatever dead matter is there, whatever the nutrients which is acquired from the dead matter through decomposition stays there. But here in the rainforest does not happen. That is why we are saying it is poor in nutrients, because rainfalls, there will be continuous rainfalls, it will be washed away continuously. Okay, so that's the main reason. So you have to read these things. Okay, since because the humidity is high, the decomposition rate is also high. That was the question last year for you. And then uh, take this also. Here certain useful information will be there. Multi-layered canopy, tall and large trees in the tropical equatorial forest. Okay, so A1 means equatorial forest. Then comes deciduous, so they are less dense, medium height. Okay, so this way you have to read this table. You can read on your own, and even like they have given certain animals also in the list, and it's up to you. If you want, you can read it. Then come to the desert. Desert also they are given certain conditions like this. Okay, so this and all not required. You can do it from any other book. So grasslands also they have come out with a certain information. This if you want you can do tropical grassland, temperate grassland. How this is differentiated, both what type of temperature they have, how the rainfalls and all occurs, and how the soil will be in the grasslands. That way they have given. And if you see in the desert, you can take this into consideration. The soil rich in nutrients with the less or no organic matter. So you may wonder how a desert soil is rich in nutrients, because the mineral content is high. Okay, the minerals are high, like especially phosphate, now magnesium. These types of organic and inorganic compounds is present in the desert soil, but they do not have nitrogen. This which is required for the plant growth is not there, and no sufficient moisture to support the life. That's the reason it is devoid of the plant growth. Okay, so now we'll go to this section where we stopped. As you can see that the types of biomes we were discussing, we started that. So generally, and after that we have aquatic biomes also, that we'll see later. It's not in this book. So biogeochemical cycles. Come to the cycle. What is nutrient cycles? Why this is called biogeochemical cycle? They themselves have defined here. You can see this. See, yes, I think it's not here. We have to go down a bit. Yes, you can you can read from here only. Like, you know life, I think this and all is not important, that much important. If you want, you can do it. But generally, you can go to the cycle directly. As you can see, this come to this particular section. Yes, see this only I was searching. That biosphere, these cyclic movements of chemical elements of the biosphere between the organism and the environment is referred as biogeochemical cycle. Just read it and keep. Bio means it refers to living organisms, geo means rocks. So the movement between the living organisms and the non-living elements like rock, soil, air, the chemicals is keep on moving from here to there, there to here. So this is what we call as the biogeochemical cycles. Okay. So it can be of two types. One is gaseous and another is sedimentary cycle. So gaseous cycle means the nutrients, the nutrient which is circulating, which is cycling is present in the atmosphere in the form of gas. That is why the gases part predominate. It dominate the cycle. So we call that as gaseous cycle. Others, if the rocks, the minerals which is required for the circulation is stored in the rocks, then we call that a sedimentary cycle. Okay, so that how we will split. And this is generally a water cycle. So far, no questions. Very long back in your UPSC, there was one question related to water cycle. Then they have not repeated. So you know how water is circulated in the environment, how it is done in the form of precipitation, condensation, evaporation. This terms you have to know. So here they have not described further. They have generally given water circulates between the environment. Okay. So maybe in the 13th chapter they have mentioned it according for the hydrological cycle, it seems. You can go and refer that in the 13th chapter. Now come to the carbon cycle. See the carbon. How carbon is circulated. Most important cycles are carbon, nitrogen, and sulfur, phosphorus. These four cycles are very important. In that carbon cycle, here they have given a very simple carbon cycle. Come to this diagram. Diagram explains everything. So when you are studying about a cycle, concentrate in the sources of that carbon. How carbon is released into the atmosphere. Okay, how carbon is released into that is the sources for carbon. So one is natural causes, another is man-made causes. Here they have not given man-made causes. They have given only naturally how this carbon is released in the form of carbon dioxide. So carbon cycle is a gaseous cycle because we are taking carbon in the form of gaseous format only. So gaseous part predominate or dominate. So we can say that this is a gaseous cycle. And here you can see the diagram. So atmospheric carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, I already told, it is remaining. We study in the atmosphere, 1% is occupied by trace gases. In that 1%, carbon dioxide is also one gas which is there present along with the other 9 gases. 9 to 10 gases are there. Along with them, carbon dioxide is also present. Now what happens is carbon dioxide is taken by plants for preparing the food. So they inhale during photosynthesis. Okay, so they take in only, this is the only way that carbon is taken in. Other ways, if you want to write, it is not here in the cycle. You can also say that inward flow of carbon can be done by water, ocean, seas. They also can act as a carbon sink. But how carbon is released out? Animals during respiration, they are releasing out. Noted. Plants during respiration, they release out. Okay. Then dead organisms, when they are decomposed, then also that carbon dioxide is released out. Okay. Even they have given us about root respiration. So you can write the dead organisms during respiration. They have not given the anthropogenic sources here. Anthropogenic sources like the fossil fuel burning, industrial activity, vehicular emissions. All this is not given here. Maybe in the higher classes they would have given. So even if you want to write, you can write and keep in the near the diagram itself. Then this is oxygen cycle. You can do on your own. If you want, you can read it. Come to the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle they have not given clearly. In the 11th standard, they have not given clearly. They have generally given how the nitrogen is circulated. Especially the major role is performed by the microorganisms. Okay, so there are different kind of microorganisms. Denitrifying microorganisms is there. Nitrifying microorganisms is there. Ammonifying microorganisms is there. That's an elaborate version. But you can just give a reading about this nitrogen. So I hope there might be some diagrams. See this. Nitrogen, generally, it is in the atmosphere. and plants cannot take the nitrogen. Carbon dioxide they can take directly. So you have to write like this here. Those things you have to note and keep. So what they will do, they cannot take the nitrogen directly. So nitrogen has to be given to the plants through some way. Who is responsible for that? One, that we call as atmospheric fixation. Okay. And this is that takes place in the form of atmospheric fixation, biological fixation, and industrial fixation. Atmospheric fixation by certain natural events like lightning, okay, so cosmic rays, something like that. They try to fix the atmospheric nitrogen, the elemental, we call that as the elemental form of nitrogen, into the soil. Same way, some microorganisms also take the elemental nitrogen. Okay. So some free living, they can be of two types. They can be either free living in the soil or they can fix to leguminous. I hope you would have read about this. No, leguminous plants roots. Okay, leguminous plants root. For example, I can say that certain organisms like Frankia, okay, Frankia is living in the root of higher plants. So they will try to observe the elemental nitrogen and they convert this nitrogen to nitrate in the form of nitrate, not nitrate. They convert directly to nitrate. Nitrate is taken by plants. Okay. So otherwise, even the some industrial activities are if the dead organisms, if again the organisms die, okay, what happens? They are decomposed. So it is released in the form of, it is not given here, it is released in the form of nitrate. There comes another group of microorganisms which decompose this organism and that nitrate is released from that. And this nitrate is again converted to nitrate by certain microorganisms. Okay. So this and all will be elaborately given in certain books. This way, we are bringing that to the nitrate format. Even industrial fixation also fix the atmospheric nitrogen in the form of ammonia. Ammonia again gets converted to nitrate. That also with the help of microorganisms only. Then what they will do, this nitrate is taken by plants. Now plants and animals when they die, they also will be converted into nitrate and again they can be converted to nitrate. Sometimes this nitrate is again sent back to the atmosphere in the elemental nitrogen form. That also done by denitrifying bacteria. This is called as denitrification. Okay. So this way they have given certain information here. I have explained it here. So you can just take and write the formula pattern. Then other mineral cycles and all you can leave. Come to the ecological balance. Here they have talked about some succession in this. Okay. That you can see. Yes. So they have given what are the importance of each and every organisms in the ecosystem. I already told you what producers is doing, what consumers is doing, why consumers are important, why producers are important, why decomposers are also important. So they have given, see this, some in the grasslands where herbivorous animals like this are found in plenty. Herbivorous like deer, zebras, buffaloes. Even in our India, we sometimes term them as vermin. We call them as vermin because they create a lot of disturbances to crops and humans. So the carnivorous animals are not large in number, but they hunt and feed on the herbivores, thereby controlling their population. So everything is important here. And in the plant, any disturbance in the native forest, such as clearing. So this is something which is required to maintain an ecological balance. Okay, so that is why we are having different kind of organisms to compete with one another, cooperate with one another to bring a ecological balance. In that way, they have given this paragraph. Okay, in the form of, see this occurs through form of competition and cooperation. You can mark this line also. Ecological balance is brought in the form of, you can put a equal to mark, right? In the form of competition and cooperation. Only when it is there, then ecological balance will be maintained. Why? Some organism compete with another and they will kill the weak one. So the stronger one will persist. Cooperation means each will cooperate with each other in order to live in the particular environment. So this is very important for the ecological balance. And they have mentioned something here. They have given an explanation for you why it is important. Come to the last statement. In the plants, any disturbance in the native forest, such as clearing the forest for shifting cultivation. That is why now we are banning it. Slash and burn agriculture is completely banned. Although it is considered traditional way of practicing the agriculture, now we are not doing it. Why? Because when they are clearing a patch of land, the native forest will disappear. So then what happens? It will bring a change in the species distribution. Completely there will be a change. This change is due to competition where the secondary forest species such as grasses, bamboos or pines overtake the native species, changing the original forest structure, and this we call as succession. Simply they have defined succession. We are learning about succession, autogenic, allogenic, primary succession, secondary succession. So they have said what is succession? If we are removing a particular plant from the area, then what happens? Then the land is barren. Now new species starts appearing. The native species is gone. New species, which is very stronger, will start to appear and fight with the native species. And now they occupy the entire, colonize the area. This is something called as succession. Okay, so that you can read. Then you can just give a reading about this particular paragraph. Like they have said, ecological balance may be disturbed due to the introduction of new species. Okay, we are introducing new species. Natural hazards, it can be due to nature, like fire, forest fire, storms. Okay, all can disturb the particular balance in the area, or human causes. Put number 1, number 2, number 3. Note and keep. So this is the main reason for succession. This is the reasons for succession. Okay, right. Then that's it. I think this much is enough for us. Okay. See, they have explained further. The 1, 2, 3, they have explained. Natural calamities means natural calamities like floods, landslide, disease. Okay, all these. Human, we have said it is due to introduction of new species. Then what is it? Due to introduction of new species means what it is. Invasive species. Man is bringing them, no, that. So that way they have explained this. That's it. So we have completed this, NCERT. We'll move to the next one. Yes, we'll move to the next one. Yes, come to this. So here, this is biodiversity. Whatever we have not seen, we will see here. So far, we have seen a small way, part of biodiversity has been already discussed. Now we will go to the in depth, what and all we can see from here, what and all we can get from here. So as come to this area, this one is not required. See this, they have again defined biodiversity. If you want, you can just read it. Okay, so they have given a definition for biodiversity. It's like this. But come to this area, biodiversity can be at three levels. One is genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. There are 3 levels of biodiversity. What are that? That only we are going to see here. And before going into that, I thought of introducing. Okay, it is not here, I think. Yes. So come to the genetic diversity. Why we want genetic diversity? So they have explained it. Something like you take humans. Humans all are belonging to one species only. That is human species, Homo sapiens. We are called as Homo sapiens. But why we are all looking differently? Like I am different from you. You are different from me. Even your mom and dad is different from you. So how it is happening? Because of the diversity in your genes, the so-called genes. Okay, so which you carry forward. That is the main reason for the diversity. So that's they have explained here. You can give a reading. So that is called as genetic biodiversity. It is very important. With this only, we will have a healthy breeding of population of species. Even when I was discussing ethics, one of my students was asking, why you're saying that it's immoral, that cloning is an immoral act, and you're saying because it is stopping a variation in the organisms. Yes, it's immoral only because we are in this form. We are being created. We have been living in this format that everyone has their own uniqueness. Everyone has their own DNA. But now if you're trying to bring a person who looks similar like other person, so everyone thinks in that manner, then what will happen? Again, so that's why we have connected, and this is the reason. So then I send it for her personally. So you can note whenever reading, when you're reading these kind of statements, you will not ask this question again. Okay. So when this kind of the importance of the genetic diversity, you have to read. Healthy breeding of population. Come to species diversity. It refers to variety of species. This is very, very important. That is, with this only, we are seeing that how rich in that area is. Biodiversity, rich regions. We are saying like that. No, that mainly it depends on the variety of species. How many different kind of species is living in that area. Along with us, different kinds of starting from insects, plants, animals. If they are living in a particular area, then the area looks good. Otherwise, only humans are living. What will happen? You are seeing only the wall. You are seeing only the constructed areas. No plants, no animals, no insect. Everything is in the museum. What will happen then? Huh? So that's why we are saying that variety of species is very important. That is called a species diversity, and read that. So that's why they have said the diversity of species can be measured through its richness, its abundance, and the types. These three, with this three only, we are going to measure the species diversity. How? Species richness. Then what you can make a small note about what is species richness, what is species abundance, and what is species types. Okay, so just to go and surf about it. Then see, this areas rich in the species diversity are called hotspots of diversity. We call this as a hotspot. Okay, biodiversity hotspot. This again you will be coming across in some places. There I will say what is meant by biodiversity hotspot. There is some category, conditions to accept that area as biodiversity hotspot. So there are two conditions. One is, if you want, you can write here and keep. One is that the area should have at least 15,000 vascular endemic vascular species. Endemic vascular plants. Okay, vascular plants. Plants can be only vascular. Second condition is that at least 30% of that particular thing of the area of the species should have been lost. Okay, there should be loss of 13%, 30%, that is threatened. That means what? That area is threatened completely. So these two conditions are very important to decide the particular area is having biodiversity hotspot or not. Right? Yes. So if you want, you can write and keep. Again, it will repeat. It will come. Now, ecosystem diversity. This is the differences in ecosystem. You are walking. Anna, you're walking. Suppose let us think. Let us think like this. You're starting from here. You're moving towards Himalayas. What are the landforms you're seeing? Different kinds of landforms you will meet. Even in the, I told, when you're climbing a Himalaya itself, when you're climbing a mountain itself, you'll be seeing different kinds of landforms. Anna, so down you will see evergreen forest, and as you go up, what happens? You'll be seeing differences in the ecosystems. And that is called as ecosystem diversity. So that they have explained. The boundaries of communities and the ecosystems are not very rigidly defined, so we cannot demarcate it accordingly. So this is ecosystem diversity. Then come to importance of biodiversity. Mostly they are trying to ask if a tree is removed from the forest, what will happen? What are the uses of forest? Okay, this way they are asking some questions to us. No. So same way you can note the importance of biodiversity also. Biodiversity has contributed in many ways to the development of human culture, and in turn human communities have played a major role in shaping the diversity of nature, genetic species. Okay, so these are the importance, ecological role of biodiversity. So you can just give a reading. One time you can read. Most important point you can note and keep. So ecological role of biodiversity means it performs many functions, right? And come to this section and see this. That means every organisms, beside extracting its needs, also contributes something useful to the other organisms. That is called as ecosystem role. So biodiversity means one will benefit from another, and one is trying to give benefit to other. So this is something called as the ecosystem for ecological function. Okay. Same way, not only that, they also try to participate in the nutrient cycles. Okay, in the food chain. In that way, the circulation of minerals and nutrients happens in the environment, and everything is written here. As these functions are important for ecosystem and human survival, and the more diverse an ecosystem, better are the chances for the species to survive. And hence, the loss of species. Okay, this and all blah blah. They have written some stories here. They have said if it is positive, if the species is diverse, what are the benefit we are going to see? If they are not diverse, what are the benefits we are going to see? That's they are given here. With high genetic diversity, an ecosystem with high biodiversity may have a greater chance of adapting to environmental change. So that is why. Suppose we are seeing climate change is happening. So a system which is having different diverse groups of organisms will try to sustain. Okay, others will be it will be very hard. So the more the variety of species in ecosystem, the more stable the ecosystem is. So this also you can underline. Then come to economic role of biodiversity. In the economic role, they are saying what are the benefit we are getting from biodiversity is crop diversity. So this is a major economic role, and this is with this we call as agro biodiversity also. Agro biodiversity. This is another important topic. I hope many of you have not come across. So agro biodiversity sites are there in India. Today, go and surf what are that called as agrobiodiversity sites. So, biodiversity is always seen as a reservoir of resources. So, from that only we are taking a lot of things like starting from food, pharmaceutical. Even very recently, research was conducted on coral reefs. From that, they are trying to extract certain chemical compounds and preparing some medicines. So, medical storehouse, it is like medical storehouse. So, for manufacturing food, pharmaceutical, cosmetic products, we are using biodiversity. So, this is called as economic role. Okay. And yes. Again, they were given the economic role, scientific role. Scientific role they have given each species can give us some clue to how life evolved and will continue to evolve. So research for research and analysis, we are trying to study from the biodiversity only. So we are taking certain organisms, we are studying how humans how this earth has evolved. So biodiversity help in understanding how life functions and the role of each species in sustaining the ecosystem, which we are also a species. We call this as sometimes indicator species also. So health of an ecosystem itself is measured with the help of this indicator species. You'll be studying in your chapters. Okay, so that's they are coming to say. Right now, we'll move to the loss of biodiversity. As you can see, what are the reasons which are causing the loss of biodiversity? That is given here as growth in human population increase the rate of consumption of natural resources. Number one. So it has accelerated the loss of species and habitation. Okay. And different parts. Tropical regions which occupy only this and all, you can just give a reading. There is no need to mark it. Yes, the main reason is consumption of natural resources. We are the one who are occupying the forest by involving in deforestation, completely clearing out the forest, taking the land, encroaching the natural resource, and then because of us, lot of issues are happening through urbanization and population increase. We can say population burst. All these problems are happening. Then natural calamities. We know that, no? So like volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, forest fires, droughts, all these can also cause damage to the biodiversity. So these are the ways the biodiversity can be lost. So what are those things which acts as threat to biodiversity? I hope this long back there was a question like that. Threats to biodiversity. Then you have to know the natural calamities, man-made calamities. Okay. Apart from that, you can also see that this is also man-made calamity only. Like especially the pesticides and other pollutants which were released which is directly released to the soil, which is affecting the soil biota, which is released into the atmosphere. It is completely changing the environment and it leads to climate change. And this climate change is again affecting the environment by causing the droughts, tsunamis, all these are caused. Okay. So, and you can also see that the introduction of exotic species into the system. So you can write this. This is third, this is fourth. Introduction of exotic species. That is, that species does not belong to that area. We are bringing from some other place, some other countries. We are introducing them into that area. Then what happens? It will completely, through competition, it will eliminate the native species because they are much stronger. They propagate fastly. Okay. And they also live in a short period, they will reproduce. So they completely spread everywhere and they will occupy the resources which is meant for the native species. Native species get killed because of this. So that's why exotic species are very dangerous. And see, ecosystem suffered extensive damage because of the introduction of exotic species, right? Then we can go to the next last thing, poaching. You're killing the biodiversity mercilessly. They're killing for from the musk deer, tusk from the elephant. Okay, skin of crocodiles, skin of red pandas. Like this way, we are trying to take the skins and even deer, the skin of the deer, the fur, which is for that they are hunted down, poached, and then we are bringing them to endangered category or extinction, even sometimes extinction. So this according to the IUCN, there were say several categories, but they have given endangered species only here, not critically endangered. So they have said that red list. Then you can connect with IUCN. You can also write critically endangered, okay, vulnerable, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, vulnerable, and least threatened and not evaluated. This much categories are there regarding IUCN, but they have given us a general, small categories of species. And that here they have mentioned about red panda. So if you want, you can make small note about red panda because this cute organism, the cute animal, which is very shy and embarrassing in character. Previously, they were spread throughout Himalayas, but now you can only find them in West Bengal, Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, in West Bengal, only in Singalila National Park and Neora Valley National Park, you can find them. I already told you, when you see an organism, you make where and all you can see them. Which national park you can find them in the wild. Then any peculiar character of this animal. So you can say they are arboreal in nature. They are very shy. Yeah? Then again, like species reintroduction program of red panda was conducted very recently. That means they will bring this animal in the captivity. They will grow this animal in the captivity. Example, the Padmaja National Park in West Bengal is doing that. Padmaja National Park. So like that, they are responsible for breeding this red panda. They release it into the wild. So when you go to West Bengal, the Neora Valley National Park and the Singalila National Park, you can find these animals. Okay, there are two species. One time when they were asking question about the swamp deer, Barasinga. Barasinga is a swamp deer. Chausinga is a four-horned antelope, but Barasinga is a deer variety where you can see this particular deer. There are three variations are there. Three varieties of deers are there in that, and each will live in different kind of vegetation. One will prefer marshy area, one will prefer the grasslands. So they asked a peculiar variety only. They asked where you can find this kind of deer. So if you see, some lives in central India, some lives near Himalayas. So they asked generally that type of question was asked, and they gave national parks below. And that was very tricky question. Same way when you're doing this. Red panda, there are two variations of red panda. One is Chinese red panda, another is Indian red panda. Okay, the scientific name is different. I am saying in this manner. So the Arunachal Pradesh, the Siang River splits this species. Okay, in Arunachal Pradesh, India has both the species. Chinese species also is there. Indian species is also there. Is found in India, but only the river splits them into two. So they will not come in after that to the West Bengal area. You cannot notice them, but you can see only the Indian species in the West Bengal. So this way you can see then vulnerable species, rare species, this and all you can study in IUCN. No need to read here. Then conservation of biodiversity they have given. In this conservation of biodiversity, no much information is given except they have talked about, as you can see that. Yes, the 1992 summit. Okay, Convention on Biological Diversity was adopted. Convention of Biological Diversity. That only they are talking. The Convention of Biological Diversity. Give a reading to this section only. As Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. So here only the World Conservation Strategy was suggested. So this you cannot find anywhere except NCERT. You will not find information about the World Conservation Strategy. They all will be only focusing on the 1992 summit, the Convention of Biological Diversity, but the strategy, based on this strategy only, this convention was drafted. So what is that strategy? That strategy has 5 points. You can see this. You can read this 5 points. Okay. So it is given, not 6 points. Sorry. The 6 points you can just read and keep. So based on the strategy only, the Convention of Biological Diversity was developed. And based on the CBD only, not based on CBD, even before that, we have formed this Wildlife Protection Act 1972. The government has passed. And this Wildlife Protection Act, based on this, only national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, community reserve, conservation reserve, okay, even National Tiger Conservation Authority, everyone gets power from this particular act only, Wildlife Protection Act. And in this Wildlife Protection Act only, we also, our government also gives a list of protected species in the name of Schedule 1 to Schedule 6 previously. Now it is cut shorted to Schedule 4. Last year only they amended it. They brought it into 4 schedules. Okay, instead of 6 schedules, they have brought into 4 schedules. And this in this 4 schedules, one schedule has been sorry. One schedule has been allotted for site species, sites. I hope yesterday we were discussing about this body. No, do you remember sites? So this the species which will be listed under sites. Sites has 3 appendices: Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Appendix 3. And the species which occupies highest priority in the sites will be occupying in India the Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. This way you have to connect your NCERT. When you're reading your NCERT, you should know how to connect with your newspaper reading whatever you have learned from the current affairs in the newspapers, whatever learned from the conventional basis from their classes, you have to know to connect it. Okay, so that's why, directly, they are taking questions. Although there are certain statements which were directly lifted from your NCERT, there are also certain clues which are remaining inside your NCERT. So you cannot simply avoid your NCERT, move forward. Oh, why? I'm grown up here. Why I have to go and see the NCERT and all? I'm studying the complete content. I have taken a book, popular book from the market. I have read it. Please throw it away. I'm saying no. So don't say this popular book, that popular book, and all. The one which is remaining there, it has already been outdated. Okay, so go for the new ones, which they are always trying to frame in the question paper format. Come to the new one. So now many authors have come in the market. They have written books related to the pattern of UPSC. Okay, even my book is also written in the, because I have already read those books previously. 10 years before, 15 years before, they have written that book, and at that time it would have suffixed the UPSC paper, but now it is not. Okay, so be careful in that. And come to this area, mega diversity centers. We said yesterday, we discussed, no, there were 12 mega diverse countries in the world, and they have given the name of the 12 mega diversity countries, and India is one among them. Okay, so same way here inside this, they will be giving what are the conservation efforts which are relating to the biodiversity. They will give again. They are bringing IUCN. IUCN used to give the list of endangered species, extinction species. Okay, so this way you can come to know. Then come to the, yes, hotspots. Biodiversity hotspots. Already we have discussed, no, biodiversity hotspots. This is also one way that we can protect. We can know that this particular area is threatened, so we have to protect this. So that we can classify them as biodiversity hotspot. And there is also an organization which is completely taking care of the biodiversity hotspot in the name of Conservation International. They are looking into it. Okay, so same way you can see that what are the other organizations, institutions which are looking into the conservation of the biodiversity as well as the ecosystem. So they have given the hotspots of the world. They have given the hotspots of the world here. See, in India also they have written Western Ghats, Eastern Himalayas are all hotspots. Okay, go and check like what are the hotspots which is present in India. Okay, then that's it. So this also is over. Now we'll move to the last in the 11th unit. So the 11th chapter, chapter number 11, you can come. So here, initially you leave everything. This you will be studying in your geography. Okay, so the classification of climates, all will be there. Okay, this and all is not required to read in the environment and read for environment. Come to the last section, this area, climate change. Come to climate change. Although we are doing only vegetation, natural vegetation, since we are doing by class wise, I cannot skip this. I cannot bring this after 12th standard. So I have brought it here. Okay. So we will just do a reading. It's just an intro. It will be like an intro only in the 11th standard NCERT. It looks like an intro class. So just they are saying what is climate change, and that is given here. So you can see that, yes, the earth has witnessed, earth has witnessed many variations in the climate since the, see, most of all in the mains question, climate change related questions are often frequently appearing, and the last few years, so for the past 2-3 years, only from climate change we are receiving lot of questions. Pollution and climate change only, lot of questions are coming in your exams. So how will you write for mains? Prelims, it's okay, you are just going to verify the statement. You are going to say it is right or wrong, that's it. So it is related to certain conventions or certain protocols. They will be asking a question, or certain initiatives taken by the government. They will be asking, or the causes of that particular problem. They will be asking sources of that particular pollution. They will be asking. These types of questions will come. But in mains, you should require statements to support the answers. So where you can take that statement, you can take it from the NCERTs. So please read this climate change completely. Make notes. Make shorter notes. But highlighting points, I'll just give here. So the planet has witnessed many variations in the climate since the beginning. Geological records have shown alteration of glacial interglacial periods is occurring. That means hot and cool temperatures keep on happening. Sometimes the earth is completely warm, then it becomes cold, then again warm, then cold. Okay, this way the cycle goes on, right? And as you can see that the sediment deposits in glacial lakes also reveal the occurrence of warm and cold periods in the earth. So it is natural, it happens. And but now what they are saying, what which has to take place after several hundred years later is happening now, because the reason is man is adding to this warming nature of earth. Man is adding more. Okay, from his part, he is adding more. Naturally, it has to happen, but it takes place gradually. But what man is doing, man is increasing it. He is trying to bring it as fast as possible. That's a problem. That is why we have termed this concept of climate change. Okay, so then they have given what are the findings which has brought that the wet and dry periods existed in the earth. So that way they have given some details. Not this much depth is required. Come to the this area. This also you can skip. This also you can skip. They have given certain major events which has occurred everywhere. So then come to causes of climate change. The causes of climate change are many. So you can note from here, they can be grouped into astronomical and terrestrial causes. Okay, either it can be astronomical causes or terrestrial causes. So when you're writing your answers, you can begin like this. Okay, the astronomical causes are the changes in the solar output. Okay, that is called astronomical causes associated with sunspot activities. So when you're writing a causes, it can be of two things. One is astronomical, another is terrestrial. In astronomical, it is based on solar output as well as solar sunspots. What are sunspots? They have given for definition for that also. It's dark and cooler patches on the sun which increase and decrease in a cyclical manner. There is no proof yet. It is in the analysis stage only, but they have given, see this, when the number of sunspots increase, cooler and wetter weather and greatest storm occurs. But a decrease in sunspot, what happens? Warm and dry conditions will prevail. So it is the findings are not important to that level to declare it outside. But anyhow, scientists and meteorologists are discussing that this may be one of the reason for that. And another astronomical theory is this Milankovitch oscillations, which we say, which refers to the cycles relating to Earth orbital characters around the sun. How Earth is moving around the sun and the wobbling of the Earth. Okay, so Earth wobbles continuously and is also moving around the sun, and the change in the axial tilt. Okay, so all these are also responsible for the change in the climate. So this is natural event, astronomical event. Now come to the another thing which is changing the climate of the area, that is volcanism. Volcanization is another cause for climate change because volcanic eruption throws lots of aerosols into the atmosphere. We have learned that atmosphere consists of, come tell the formula, atmosphere is equal to, yes, gases plus water vapor plus aerosols. All this occupy the atmosphere, no. So now when volcano is erupting, lot of aerosols are ejected into the atmosphere. So this completely changes the climate because lot of aerosols starts floating, and it remains in the atmosphere for a considerable period of time. It reduces the sun's radiation reaching the earth's surface. So it blocks. So it makes that area cold. After the recent, so they have given certain examples. The most important anthropogenic effect on the climate is the increasing trend in the concentration of greenhouse gases. Although there are natural events like this, which is responsible for climate change, like volcanic activity. Okay, and also we told about two theories: the changing of earth, wobbling of earth and movement around the sun, and the axial tilt, as well as the another theory which is relating to sunspots and all. That and all is normal, it's naturally occurring. But the man-made causes, the anthropogenic causes is greenhouse gases only, concentration of greenhouse gases, which leads to global warming. So now we have come to the important topic called global warming. So this is very important. So here we will be talking about the presence of greenhouse gases. Why we call them as greenhouse gases? For that they have given a definition here. You can read it. Because the greenhouse, as you can see, glass house. Okay, from that they call that as greenhouse. And it is in the colder areas they will build a house like this. What is the reason? Because the greenhouse is made of glass. Glass is transparent to the incoming short wave solar radiation. The solar radiation means that comes from the sun. That is short wave. Wavelength is shorter. So it comes through the glasses. But that glass house is opaque to the outgoing long wave radiation, IR radiation only. So long wave IR radiation is ejected from the, or it is given out, emitted from the Earth's surface. So that is trapped in the form of glasses. That's why gave the name as greenhouse gas. Then later, in the natural environment also, same thing happens in the bigger picture. It happens in the bigger picture format. So same way, I hope no, we so far we have not discussed that. I think in the NCERTs, you can take some book. You can see the greenhouse effect. There they will give a diagram where the incoming solar radiation will reach the earth. Before reaching the earth, some will get reflected by the clouds. So that happens in the way, and if, almost part of them will reach the earth. The earth will absorb that incoming solar radiation. Then they will emit because that incoming solar radiation is in the short wave format. Then they will eject in the form of long wave IR radiation, and there, I told already, in the atmosphere we already gave a formula. Gases is present. Gases, oxygen and nitrogen occupies around 99%. The rest is trace gas. I told you, no, trace 1%. In that, there are a lot of gases like carbon dioxide. Okay. So, along with the methane, they are present. What they will do, they are acting like a greenhouse gas wall. Roof. They're acting like a roof. Consider like that. So, what they are doing, they are not allowing the IR radiation to escape out. They have to escape to the space. No, it is not escaping. So it is again kept trapped by this gases which is present there, which absorb this IR radiation which is emitted by the earth, and they send it back to the earth. So the earth is warm. It has to be there. It is required. It is very important. But now, since man's activity has increased, this greenhouse gases has increased and is causing harm. So we'll stop here today. We'll continue from this and we'll start the 12th unit tomorrow. Okay. Thank you all students. We'll meet again. Good night. So we'll meet tomorrow at 7 p.m.